Tim, thank you for joining us. I didn't even realize until I saw this project you're doing that, you are one of 10 men ever to, to, to win a Heisman Trophy and be elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Didn't know that. How did this project come about?
Yeah, well, we like to say more men have walked on the moon that have accomplished this feat, man. And so literally, I'm at my Hall of Fame enshrinement. I'm getting ready to get on the bus, and a buddy who came up from Dallas pulled me over and said, "Hey Tim, do you know that you're only the ninth guy, to win the Heisman Bin Hall of Fame?" And I shoot him off like, "Man, there's 30, 40 guys who have done that." And on the bus ride over, I Googled it up, and Google hadn't added me yet, so there were only 8 guys, and I was amazed by that. But the one thing that immediately came to mind is, wow, we're going to leave such an incredible legacy on the field. Let's see if we can get together and do something off the field, and that's what we've been trying to do, man. We added Charles Woodson, obviously, to the list to make 10. And so we've been trying to get together and just do something with some great companies. Prudential is a premier sponsor for the documentary next Saturday night. So that's what we want to do: partner with great companies and help nonprofits around the country.
Well, I saw the trailer. It looks pretty fascinating. The Hard Knocks folks, directed this, put this together. So I know it's going to be good. Just logistically, though, how hard was it to get all seven of you together?
Well, the great thing is, you got me, Roger, and Tony right here in Dallas. So that's why we decided to shoot it here in Dallas. Earl is only a couple hours away down in Austin, so that was pretty simple. So getting Marcus and Barry and Charles to Dallas was the only task. But the great thing for me is I have a personal relationship with all of these guys. I mean, I grew up a huge Cowboy fan. Watching Tony and Roger. Of course, Earl Campbell was a guy who I idolized. Also, I played with Marcus and Charles, and me and Barry have been fighting, about who's the best, all-purpose guy or whatever, since we were in college. So,
Yeah.
so it was great to have everybody in the room together at one time. That's the first time we've ever done that.
No, it's very cool. You and Charles Woodson were the executive producers on this. So, how active were you in putting this together and sort of the day-to-day thing of getting it done? And were you guys conducting the sort of the interviews, so to speak, throughout the project?
Yeah, well, I did most of the interviewing in the sit down portion of this, but really we were just, bouncing questions off each other, just really having a conversation like we were back in the locker room, right? So, yeah, but yeah, I mean, look, there was a lot of work to be done here. Trying to get all these guys on the same page was not the easiest thing in the world to do. And working with NFL Films obviously was above my pedigree, right? When it comes to this kind of stuff, but they made things pretty simple for us, and we did what we have to do to make this thing happen.
Well, when you dive a little deeper into each one of you, is there sort of a common thread? I don't know, that propelled each one of you to the pinnacle of greatness, so to speak.
I think the commonality was that when we got on the football field, whatever we needed to do to win that play is what we did. You know what I mean? And when you look at Marcus, you look at Roger Staubach, you look at Earl Campbell, you look at Barry Sanders, Charles. I mean, we all gave this game everything we could possibly give it, on the football field. And when we walked away, we didn't walk away looking back over our shoulders, going, "Man, coulda, woulda, shoulda." We had given everything we could possibly give to the game, and I think that's something that, believe it or not, a lot of guys walk away from this game, not with that thought process, because they know they didn't do this right, they didn't do that right, they didn't, play as hard as they could have, and that's something that can really haunt you for the rest of your life.
I'm assuming you've seen the film, right?
I've chosen not to. I've had people
Really?
around me to see it, but I want to see it for the first time with my family at the venue. So in Phoenix next weekend. So I'm looking forward to that.
I mean, listen, it looks fantastic. I want to switch gears though. I want to ask you about the Raiders a little bit because you
Yeah.
played 16 of your 17 NFL seasons there, and obviously that's the team that's near and dear to your heart. You hold, I would say, probably every single receiving record that they have, except one now.
Right. They're gonna start to come down, but it's all good. I'll
Well,
always have the all-time Raider receiver records. I'm not worried about
that's
that.
not gonna that's not gonna change. But so when Devontae Adams, who grew up a Raider fan, when he broke your single season receiving record in the last game of the season, did you reach out to him? I know that your families are actually you've got a tie with him, right?
Yeah, yeah. His stepmom and my wife were really good friends while we were in Oakland. I mean, Devontae came to my house,
Hmm.
a couple times. I wasn't there both of those times, but he had been to my house when he was 7, 8 years old or something of that nature. So, yeah, I'm really old now. That's what that means. But yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I tried to not bother him during the season, but at the same time I would shoot him little text messages every once in a while just to encourage him and whatever I could possibly do. But look, this kid is fantastic, man. He's going to be great for the Raiders. Hopefully, they can get the right guy in there for him. If this kid is going to be the guy who's there now, then that's great. But I hope that he doesn't suffer what I suffered. Going through multiple quarterbacks, year after year with the Raiders.
Yeah, Jarrett Stidham played really well, obviously, against the 49ers. Was moving on from Derek Carr the right decision or really the only decision they could make at this point?
Certainly moving on is it's part of the game. I just think the way they did it could be problematic. I think benching him with 2 games to go. I just think if I'm a veteran guy looking to go to a place, maybe not. Maybe that's not the place I want to go to if that's how they're going to treat their veteran players. A guy who has given 9 incredible years to the organization, and without notice for the most part, you tell him he's benched and things happen. So I think it remains to be seen what's going to happen with that, what the fallout is going to be with that. Hopefully these guys can get over it, and it's a different league than it was 15, 20 years ago. So maybe these guys don't look at things the way we did, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out and what happens in the offseason. Can they get veteran guys to come in and help them win games?
Well, and you were on a podcast, I think a week or two ago, pretty vocal about Tom Brady not being the solution. Obviously, that's a moot point now that he's retired. Is there a free agent, Aaron Rodgers? Is there a quarterback that you, as really an all-time Raider, would like to see come to the team?
Yeah, I don't know who is out there, man. I hadn't checked that list yet. We'll get to that right after the Super Bowl. But look, I mean, in today's football, you have to have an active quarterback. Now, if you got Aaron Rodgers, you deal with it, right? I mean, Aaron is active enough to make things happen. But you look at the guys who are in the Super Bowl now. These are quarterbacks who are not pocket quarterbacks. Yeah, they can throw the ball out the pocket, but they're more dangerous when they get out the pocket. I mean, you look at the pretty much everybody in the playoffs, except Tom Brady, we're running quarterbacks. So I think from that standpoint, you have to have guys who can move around. This is a different league. Guys are more athletic. You hear that year after year. But I just think you have to have somebody who can move around and make plays out of the pocket.
All right, just a couple more minutes with all-time Raider legend Tim Brown. A year from now, the Super Bowl 58, will be played in the Raiders' shiny new palace, Allegiant Stadium. This is kind of a tough question, but what are a couple of things you think the Raiders need to do from here until then to be playing in that game in their home stadium?
Well, first of all, like we've been talking about, they have to solidify that position, right? If you don't have a gunslinger at that quarterback position, it's going to be really tough to compete in today's NFL because, 30, 40 points, is what it's all about now, where back in our day, if you can get to 21, 24, you felt like you had a really good shot at winning football games. But, look, I think, Chandler came in and he, did okay, but I'm sure he'll tell you that he should do better, right? I mean, he came in to solidify that opposite side from Mad Max, and that didn't really happen the way I think the Raiders wanted it to go down. So, I think defensively, obviously, if Mad Max and Chandler can get going, and I actually thought they played pretty decent in the secondary the last 3 or 4 games of the year. So but it's all about scoring points, man. It's this is a league that your number one rated defense gives up 28 points a game. Whatever it is. So it's pretty special right now. But I wish I was playing right now. I tell you that, Jason.
Yeah, I was going to say, Tim, it's a little different now, and that some of these records that are going to fall, that's why you can't really compare eras, right? I mean,
Right,
you got
right.
defensive eras, you got offense. We're currently in an offensive onslaught here, points
No
being
doubt.
scored. And speaking of points, Brock Purdy, when they moved him into the starting role about 8-9 weeks ago, they put up nearly 40 points a game. Now, I'm not saying he was certainly not the only factor. Christian McCaffrey was probably the number one reason trading for him,
Sure,
that they actually
sure.
sort of transformed that offense a little bit. But when you look at the 49ers, I want to ask you this one question. Do you see Purdy possibly as their quarterback of the future, or do you think it's Trey Lance, or could it be someone else, or just too soon to tell?
Well, the problem is, man, that this kid was the last pick in the draft, and you got a first round pick in the draft on your roster. And if Purdy ends up being a man, then whoever picked that first round guy is going to be looked at a little crazy, right? So, unfortunately, that's the thing that Purdy is going to deal with. I don't know if he's going to go into training camp, especially now that he has this major injury as a starting quarterback for next year. He's going to have to come back and earn it again, or maybe even wait for another opportunity. And I'm sure, knowing what they know now about him, once he's healthy, and if somebody's playing and not playing well, then it's probably going to be a quick yank out of there
Mhm.
for that quarterback, and they're going to put him back in. But I really doubt, especially now that he's going to go into the year next year as a starting quarterback. But I think he'll definitely get a shot, probably sooner than later.
As I was talking to you, I just looked above you. I've been looking at you, but I see that is the Heisman Trophy above you, right? And then
Yes,
is that your Canton bust,
yes, the
a
bus.
replica?
Yep.
Life is pretty good.
Hey, man, look, if I'm feeling bad, I come and sit in this chair, brother. If this doesn't pump you up, then nothing will, right? So,
It's like a throne there. Look, it feels good. Hey, I got one last question for you. Who you got in the Super Bowl?
man, look, I've been, I do a Sirius XM radio show every Saturday, and week after week, I have said that this Philadelphia football team is really amazing to me because they're winning games, but they're not doing it in an extraordinary way. They're just you look up and they up by 14 points, so they're up by 17. They win it by 18, 20 points. I just think, man, they have so many ways to beat you. They can beat you defensively with their front four, getting all the sacks that they had this year, picking up balls in the secondary. Or, if Jalen gets going, if these receivers get going, if the running game gets going, I mean, they can put up 40 points on you. So I think it's going to be a really great football game. I think this is a game everybody wanted to see. But I just don't know how Philly doesn't find a way to win this game.
Great stuff, Tim. Can't wait to see the movie, and thanks for joining us for a few minutes here.
Hey, Jason, we appreciate it, man. Thanks for your time.
All right, Tim. Take care.
All right, be good.